The next stage in JET200's build is the engine. Jim from Croydon Racing Developments has helped with the development and testing of Nitto performance engineering parts, and with his recommendations, we opted for a Nitto 2.2 litre stroker kit. It comprises of JE forged pistons and rings, Nitto I-beam conrods rated to over 1,000 horsepower with ARP 2000 rod bolts, and a 91mm counterweighted billet stroker crank. Nitto Performance Engineering have tried multiple combinations, and the 91mm stroke crank provides the optimum bore-to-stroke ratio for increased low-down and mid-range torque, while still allowing the engine to make power at high RPM. It also provides a good piston pin height and room for optimum piston ring spacing. From factory, SR20s have a square bore-to-stroke ratio of 86/86, but with a 91mm stroke crank and 87mm pistons, capacity is now a little under 2.2 litres. The kit has been tested in CRD's devilish 200SX with no failures. So, if it can handle over 1,000 horsepower, it will handle our target power levels with ease. Other parts we're using in the bottom end are ACL Race Series bearings, ARP main studs, and a Pulsar GTIR oil pump. This pump has a wider and stronger gear as it is designed for higher RPM from factory. Nice security considering a blown oil pump is why the engine was originally pulled out.
Okay, so we're here at the final assembly of Andrew's SR20. For video purposes, we've already pre-assembled the engine, and I mean it takes hours to do measurements and clearances and so on. The purpose of this is basically to give you guys an overview of what it takes to build a 400 kilowatts at the wheels engine. We've installed the main bearings. We've already also installed our oil squirters, so that's already been done, and we're basically ready to install the crankshaft. We're just going to lube up the bearings now. You don't need to put too much of it on, just a light smear over the bearing, and as soon as the crankshaft sits in there, it's going to spread through itself, so it'll be fine. Crankshaft we're installing into JET200's engine is a Nitto stroker crank. It's 2.2 litre. It's fully counterbalanced, it's knife edged, it's been lightened as well. So basically what you're getting is a full billet 4340 crankshaft. That's the first installation. The next thing we've got to do is actually install the thrust bearings. On surface goes crankshaft side. There's certain thrust clearances you have to run with the crankshafts, and it varies with the power outputs and cranks and so on. I've had these crankshafts in SR20s revving over 10,000 RPM, so the revability is there, the smoothness is there, certainly the torque increase is there as well. We're just going to now start installing the main caps. Again, a little bit of lubrication on there, like that. One thing that we found with SR20s, we found that if we actually put this on and go to do these caps up all at one time, we've actually found in the past that sometimes the caps will actually kick over and they don't sit flush down the way we want them to. So we came up with a pretty simple device and an easy way of just making sure that each cap goes down flat, 100% flat, before we put the alloy brace plate on the top of it all. So it's pretty straightforward. We've got a little spacer there, and we'll just sort of slowly bring it down nice and evenly. I'm one for taking my time and doing things up by hand, not using rattle guns or air guns or anything like that. Not a big drama, but you can see now that that cap, I can assure you, is 100% flat. Okay, so we've set that up now. They only go in one way, these things. Pretty straightforward, it goes on pretty easy, sits nice and flat there. What we do now is I've actually got a proper ARP lubricant which we'll put on the threads. And this is a moly type grease, so it gives you a pretty accurate tension. Just a light nip up to get them all sitting evenly by hand. Digital tension wrench, make sure it's 100% accurate. These mains are actually going to be 60 Newton meters. I like to go up in 2 or 3 steps depending upon the final tension. Little buzzing sound and basically telling me that I'm at the right tension. So that spins fine. So what I'll do now is I'll set it up for the next tension. So I'll go 45. Newton meters. As you can see, I'm working now from the centre out, and that's allowing this alloy plate to sort of spread. If I started tensioning it from there inwards, it would actually try and buckle itself up. So same as we do head gaskets, we start from there, so sort of what it's doing is laying it and then flattening it out. Okay, do the last tension, 60 Newton meters. That has got the end plate that's required for those thrust bearings, and it spins plenty easy enough. Okay, so crankshaft is finished, and shortly we'll get on to installing pistons and rods. Just some mineral oil around the bores before we put the pistons in. Again, piston and rod's already been pre-assembled. This particular rod is Nitto's I-beam rod. What these guys have done, they've actually introduced the wide big end bearing. It's actually the GTIR bearing, more even load distribution, so the bearings will last longer. Got to lubricate these rings as well. These pistons only go in one way, and the reason for that is because they have a groove on one side, which is just there, and that groove is designed to allow the oil squirter to have clearance, so that this piston doesn't come down and clip the oil squirter and break it off. You can see the other side hasn't got it. These rings also, I have a particular pattern that I like to install. Put a little bit of lubrication on the big end. That slides straight into there. Okay, so what we do now is we centralise the rod in the middle of the piston. Bang, done. That's all good. That's ready for the big end cap to go on. The caps are paired up to the rods. I'll always, before I disassemble the rods out of the box, I'll mark them myself, mark the piston which I want to go in each cylinder, and then they're permanently paired up. Same sort of deal. If you look at that tongue there, that's got to match up with that tongue just in there. And I'll stick that in, and these rod bolts have already been pre-lubed. Well, this is final assembly, so the hours of measuring and modifying and hand finishing things off has been done, so, or else we'd have to make a whole documentary on it. What I'll do is, out of the engine, on the bench, I'll tension it up, I'll check the stretch of the rod bolt. Once we've got the stretch that we want, with this particular snap-on tension wrench, it actually tells you what tension you've gone up to. So it tells me that about 45 foot-pounds is the correct stretch for that bolt. Give that a spin. That spins really free. Rod 4, piston 4. I know it all looks easy, and a lot of you guys are going to think, oh, well, I can do that at home. But I tell you what, it's taken all of 20-something years to make it look as easy as it does. I remember building one of my first engines and checking the measurements about 20 times just to make sure I hadn't made a mistake. Finally, number 4, this one's a little bit tricky, being the back one. So Nitto stroker cranks in, Nitto rods, Nitto pistons, rings, ACL bearings, ARP mains, that side of it's done.
With the bottom end now assembled, we need to put the original head back on and start putting the car together.